who is an editorial director. He will be moderating the session. I will give the floor to him. Let's invite Mr. Sergey Ivanov, the chairman of the Committee for Tourism from Tatarstan. Like a Freud, of course, from Republic of Tatarstan, I meant. The presentation of Kazan Marina. Olga Shabzukhova, who is representing the Center for Development of Recreation Territories, New Horizons, and also we will be joined by Ms. Olga Zubova, architect and designer, the author of many touristic projects, and I will be moderating the session. Let's start with the presentation from Kazan Marina. And then we will talk about the major drivers and the prospects for the development, because at the previous session related to the development of cities, it was interesting to know and to learn about the new concept for the development of Moscow. Moscow as a resort city. So let's see what are the points of growth for the future in this industry. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone. So here we have a very good audience with us today, and let's start with that. And the topic is dedicated to the development of cities, and we can say that the global trend is the following. The number of traveling into the cities will be growing, and the number of travels to some domestic routes will be diminishing, but in general the number of trips will grow by 4% annually. But speaking exactly about Tatarstan, over the last 15 years in Kazan, the tourist infrastructure has grown, and we think that it is quite a well-developed infrastructure, sufficient, almost sufficient number of hotels, but we are already lacking them on an annual basis. And by the end of September, we should be prepared for the lack of accommodation at the hotels. And of course, we have a diverse price range, and the government of Kazan is doing a lot in order to preserve and to maintain the order and also the repair of the roads and transport nodes. So we get the feedback from the tourists, and we see that they feel quite convenient when they are here. We have sufficient number of the fast food restaurants, cafes, and also national cuisine restaurants. And of course, Tatarstan is not limited to Kazan, Sviazhsk, and some other well-known destinations. We have to expand that, and we've analyzed the situation, and we saw that in Tatarstan we have two major rivers, the Volga and the Kama rivers, a confluence between them. And we have a very large water area. We call that the Kamskaya Sea, and with such a large amount of water on the coast of the Volga and the Kama river, we don't have the high quality infrastructure which would be an integrated infrastructure when a person can come there, spend several days. And it is not only relevant for Tatarstan but also for other regions of Russia, analyzing the Volga River in general and the Kama River. The infrastructure is even less sufficient there, and it is the poorly populated area, and compared to Moscow and Moscow region, we don't have such large scale projects. So now when we have the tourism cooperation, we started our cooperation with them, and we chose some good locations that will help us to unlock the water potential, the water area potential that I mentioned before. And then people will have an opportunity to have a good rest on the coast of it. So the major data is given on the slide, and more than 4 million come to our region annually. And the next stage was to create an integrated resort in the Vyborska water area coast, and we had various stages, the proposal for the investment project, the approval of this project, and then we already have the land plot that has been leased to the Corporation of Tourism in the Russian Federation. So the essence of the project is to create and to build a resort on the shore of Vyborska water area, to build marina with the servicing, the maintenance of the yachts all year round, and also different kinds of types of accommodation with the various numbers of stars, and a lot of various locations for the recreation. 300 yachts on the water, 500 yachts for the winter period, 73 hectares is the total area. We plan to have the number of 1,250 rooms, and even we will have twice as much because the area is quite huge. So the tourism flow after we launch all the sites will be 600 to 20,000, and we will create a lot of new jobs for the population. The overall investment amount is 21 billion rubles. Of course, when we have the respective documents ready, the sum will be changed and it will grow because the cost of the construction is growing, and 15.5 billion is the private investment, and the rest is for the infrastructure, automobile, roads, highways, also water supply, water treatment, and also the concrete foundation, the construction of the piers. And this audience, target audience of 620,000 people, families, young generations, and also the owners of the yachts. And also we will be able to service the cruise ships, and the passengers will be able to have a rest there as well. The forecast for the tourism flow for the next years will be 620,000, as I've mentioned before, but by 2033 it will be growing, and the density of the construction will be growing. The lots that we've designed will enable us to make it even denser with the time, and we foresee that with the more investment appeal, we'll have the more density of construction. We have 9 lots of the territories. For each lot, we have their collective accommodations, hotels, 3-star, 4-star hotels. We also plan that we will have some 5-star hotels. Of course, they have diverse concepts. Some of them are guided by family orientation and family concepts, some business concepts. We will have the necessary parking lots available there. People come there, they leave the car, and then some other types of transports will be used on the territory. And the number of the rooms, as I mentioned before, will amount to 1,250 rooms. Here, as for the payback period of investment lots, will be from 9 to 10 years. The longest one will be for the yacht marina because it implies a lot of investment, and of course we deal here with large capex. And 2-3 years for the hotel, from 1 billion to 2 billion is the cost. From 1 to 3 billion is the cost of the lot, and we see here that the payback period in general will be from 7 to 10.5 years. Investment lots number 5 and number 4, the same, which applies to accommodation, and we will develop and create all the necessary infrastructure for the maintenance and repair of the yachts, lots number 6 and number 7, number 8 and number 9. And here we deal with the construction of the necessary rooms. As of today, out of 9 lots, we've selected investors for 7 lots. 2 of them are ongoing, still pending, and we hope that we will soon have the clarity about the investment. We will sign the agreements, and then we will start with the design of the tourist sites. Today, we are working together with the Ministry of Construction of the Russian Federation in order to include all those sites into the federal programs, all the necessary electricity supply, water supply. The efficiency of the investment is shown on the slide, and it will be positive, and we will be able to ensure the payback period for each lot. And the IRR is 15.7% of the total project. The economic effect for the Republic of Tatarstan is shown here. Accumulated effect by 2047, the taxes will amount to more than 30 million people, rubles, and also it will increase the income of the population. We have the schedule, the timeline of the project, and the supporting infrastructure. Its development is shown here. The tourist infrastructure will be developed respectively, and we will hope to comply with this schedule. That is how it may look like on the territory of this marina. And getting back to the topic of our session today, tourism as a driver for the development of the cities. The idea of this project is to create on the shore of Kuibyshevsk a resort city, a resort town that will help them to feel quite cozy. There will be a restaurant, some entertainment facilities, other services available for them, and they can go for a ride on a boat, on a yacht, to have a rest, also to organize some business events. A good gastronomy will be also presented there, very nice views with waters, and also to see the sunrise and sunset. And one of the central elements will be a lighthouse. It will be like an Instagram stories, because it is an instruction point for travelers, and we sincerely hope that it will attract a lot of tourists. And thank you very much for your attention. Sergey, thank you very much. I'd like to continue this topic and giving the floor to Ms. Olga Shebzukhova. She will be presenting a number of similar projects, some similar ideas related to the development of tourism and also water tourism. Of course, it is clear that we used to have some water routes in some small towns where people came to spend one day, but now the task is different for them to spend more time. What can they do there if they spend there more than one day? Olga? Yes, I'll try to use this microphone in order to look at the audience as well. it's a very interesting topic that you've touched upon, the development of the tourism of our cities that are located on the water. And we have 13 seas in our country, and almost all the cities are located on the shores of some water areas. And as of today, the development of domestic tourism is quite active, and we can see this image of a tourist that used to look like an image of the past. Now it is more state-of-the-art tourism, not a camper, but the one who will spend time at good accommodation at the hotel. And how can I use the clicker to go to the next slides? Okay, you will give me the clicker. Thank you. So wonderful. So the topic is the development of water tourism in the Russian Federation, and my name is Olga Shebzukova. For more than 20 years, we've been creating various types of complexes, the construction of the hotels and recreation facilities, and since 1994, our team has been popularizing the idea of water transport development in the Russian Federation, but it takes more time to achieve those goals, and a number of key projects 30 years after we started that have been launched, like the project of Kazan Marina that my colleague has elaborated before. And I will talk more about global approaches, global trends in the development of water tourism. We've elaborated the strategy that says that we can develop water tourism in any water area, but we should create a continuous yachting structure. We should restore the piers that used to be built back in Soviet times, and it was operated. Can you hear me well? Yes, they were quite actively operated. So these facilities should be state-of-the-art, modern, built in accordance with the necessary standards, state-of-the-art embankments and the beaches, all the infrastructure that we need in those cities and towns. In order to illustrate how it may look like, I will show you. We've been in many countries. We attended a lot of conferences related to building the marinas, and we are a member of association for the construction of marinas, and for many years we've been learning about international projects, and we've participated in such projects, not only in the construction but also the operation and management of such projects in Turkey, on the Black Sea, the facilities, the sites that they have in Turkey only on the shore of the Black Sea, not to mention the Mediterranean Sea. And the volume of the work can be seen here. In Turkey in 1980s, they built about 100 marinas. They designed that, they built that, the resort hotels, and now it is an international tourist power, and we will have to do that in the upcoming 5 to 7 years to lay the foundation for international yachting, also to have all the necessary types of water transport, to design the water routes traveling from one city to another, because we understand that traveling by yacht is not an individual process when you have your own yacht and you're traveling on it, but here you are leasing a yacht for your family or for your company, and you can travel on the Volga River and spend, for example, a 10-day vacation traveling like this. And I'm presenting you here the concept of the development of yacht from Azov and Black Sea shore. It has been designed for the past 7 years. It was approved, and it served also as the beginning of the federal concept elaboration of the yachting, and we can be based on that now. These are the connections that are quite illustrative there. How can you get from the Black Sea to the White Sea? Can you do that? Yes, thanks to the network of the canals and deep water systems allow us to organize these routes, but we will have to have the infrastructure, the necessary infrastructure in place. We operate in various cities, towns, in ribbons. We're analyzing the possibility of building empire fronts, and there are dozens and hundreds of such towns that need this infrastructure to be restored. So if we look at some examples in the world, in 2021 we attended the conference. About 1,000 mariners on the shores of European, Australian rivers, seas, also in Asia and in Russia. At that time we were only starting the project, and the potential is really huge, and the embankment of Cologne is quite huge. Industrial area has been developed accordingly, and they say that the marina will not be paid back, but the parking lot will not give us this opportunity. A marina is only one element of the transport infrastructure, but basically the foundation for the state-of-the-art marina is everything that will surround it. And this year we've been analyzing the Black Shore and the Black Sea shore, and we included 8 marinas in the master plan. We took into consideration the engineering technical characteristics, because we can't build marina everywhere. Economic features are also very important. Geological conditions were taken into account. They define the lots, the locations for such facilities, and as of today we have the association that is in charge of it.
So we are now actively cooperating with hydrotechnics associations, and we follow the same approach as if we accessed experts who are experts in designing foundations to construct a hotel. But we cannot address this task to the hotel managers and owners. So here you can see the analytics that demonstrates that over 30 kilometers of the Black Sea embankments in Sochi can be improved. Well, today this territory, this space is dilapidated due to regular storms. So we need a comprehensive approach in this respect, so as to construct beaches, infrastructure, and embankment, as well as the specific services to service the vessels. So here you can see Marina Limassol in Cyprus. You can see the design. It's never typical, as our international experts say. Marinas are like ice cream. So if you say, let's create a typical marina, it's impossible. Like it is impossible to create some typical average hotel. Each of the hotels has its own atmosphere, environment, and mood. And a smaller marina is up to 1,000 yachts. There are marinas for 2,000 yachts, 5,000 yachts. And there you can see Russian yachts as well, because Russians are top second in terms of the amount of purchases of yachts. So let's design marinas, let's construct them, as well as design and build Russian-made yachts. Well, this particular project was awarded a specific prize. Also, these projects were included into the 50 strongest ideas according to the Business Initiative Agency ranking. So now the Ministry of Industry and Commerce is doing all the analytics, how to integrate such projects into the overall infrastructure. Here you can see one of the designs for the Tuapse region. There we can also establish an airport. This is one of the running current projects in the Lazarev district. Now you can see the trains run and the rail running along the shore. But so far we have not finalized this project, and the question is, why haven't we done that before? Well, there is a minor issue. So this is the area under specific protection, environmental protection. And considering that these beaches are kind of sparse for rehabilitation, so in fact, they are there in the document. In fact, but that was an obstacle. Today, such artificial lands allow us to build hotels in the shore area because many of them are overbooked, both in Kazan but also in Karelia. It's impossible to make a booking. Or in Sochi, everything is overbooked because everyone likes traveling across Russia. Therefore, we need modern buildings. This is another project that our analytical group developed. We also addressed a design research center. This project dates back 2008. It was invested by Japan, and we established a joint Russian-Japan company, but the project was not implemented. There was an idea to create the Sakura Island in the Black Sea. The return on investment is 9 to 10 years, and if we do that, we can have extra artificial land at minor depth so that we can do the entire reconstruction of the territory not far from Adler, including the railway station and 2.5 kilometers of rail. So this 100-hectare artificial land plot would be a solution for lots of challenges. We also organized an architecture competition so as to inspire our architects and to demonstrate that Russia is rich in marvelous shores. The majority of these projects were awarded the Eco Shore Prize. So here you can see what it looks like. Well, naturally, here we should bring together the competences by hydrotechnics, designers, administrators, managers, and economists. One of the projects is implemented in Africa. We were preparing this project in Sierra Leone. This is the transformation of the existing territory so as to establish a new tourism cluster with marines and hotels. I believe that we are going to expand our cooperation with Russia-friendly countries, and that our experts would be engaged in implementing projects in such paradises of the world like Sierra Leone and other regions. Thank you very much for your attention. If there are any questions, I would be happy to take them. I should say that we've got plenty of competences to operate in all the above-mentioned areas, and I'm open for cooperation. Olga, thank you so much. Olga Zubova is architect, and she's going to share her experience with us regarding resorts and resort estate in the locations that are very well known but not too popular. So what's your approach to construction in these locations? Well, I would like to follow up on the words of the previous speaker. I'm very happy to see that we have sea navigation developing, and it was rightly said that there is a lack of contemporary design and contemporary hotels. And considering that Russian clients are well experienced in traveling, it's difficult to satisfy their demands. After the pandemics, we were actively developing resorts and hotels, and thanks to our experience, we decided to implement a very detailed approach so as to ensure comfort and great holiday to our clients. Quite often, investors buy dilapidated resorts, culture centers, and reconstruct those to have a full-fledged hotel with different functions, services, and opportunities. First, I would like to ask the following questions. When you choose a hotel or an accommodation in a different country, what's most important for you apart from location and number of stars? When we look at a hotel, we are looking for comfort first and foremost. What does comfort mean? Comfort means that you are satisfied, all your senses are satisfied. First you enter, and what is important is what the client sees at the entrance. So what's important is to have a lot more than an integral design. It should be remarkable as well. So the times of boring interiors has gone. It's important to have the interior balanced and to communicate some cultural code of the hotel, and this is what the client would remember. The next type of information is the information that we hear and that we see. Here I mean that hotels should be noise-proof. So developers are very much caring today about the noise pollution and the environment. Well, we're going to omit the topic of tastes. Hereby I mean restaurants with their interior, their aesthetics. Another very important point is the smell. And I know investors who installed into the HVAC system specific perfumed equipment so as to split a specific branded scent of this hotel. And I remember such experience, and that was great. Well, colleagues, I'm really sorry, but we see that the interpreter is interfering with the speaker. And ultimately, the bed linen and the bed clothes is also very important. We remember that it should be very comfortable, including the towels. How do we achieve that technically? It's indeed a challenge for an investor who is going to buy this real estate. First and foremost, I would like to highlight that a few of our colleagues remember projects where some large group of companies or a large company like Marriott is challenged by such issues. Therefore, the way how the hotel is demanded and the price of the hotel and accommodation in this hotel impacts.
При развитии отеля необходимо создать группу, состоящую из технического заказчика и функционального заказчика. В дальнейшем эти два заказчика, они между собой координируют все вопросы.
So the client coordinates all the issues. First, the technical plan is developed, and then the solutions are communicated to different experts. And on top of that, I would like to say that it's important to launch different projects at the same time and not consecutively, one after another. Earlier, we used to consider it like that. An architect comes in and makes a building, and then the engineers do the communications and utilities, and then the designer comes in and says, oh, what should I do with that column in the very middle of the room? How can we conceal it? Well, I should say that you can save up a lot if you launch all the 5 processes together and let all the 5 experts work together in cooperation. Thus, we can ensure the best results and be cost efficient. This is what can secure success. So what do we indicate in the technical task? Well, we should mention the location. Information about the location of construction is crucial. Well, recently, there was such a case that a wooden hotel in the Krasnaya Polyana did not include the information regarding the seismic conditions and the level of seismicity. And therefore, we did all the structure without considering the seismic level. And the client had to revamp all that, provided that in case of some seismic activity, the minor seismic activity, this building would be just smashed down. Quite often investors try to save up with the budget, and the design stages are split in between those who have to perform on that. That's not a good idea, I should say. But quite often this is done to save up on the budget. Any group can do the concept regarding the aesthetics, and then you do the project itself with a different team. Deadlines are very crucial, and this is monitored by the technical contractor. We should do all the explications and draw up all the details together with the architect or the designer. We never start implementing the contract without signing all of the positions to be made and all the activities and the list of such activities beforehand. It is also critical to have all the requirements explained in greater detail. I'm going to share a couple of projects, and there you're going to see a project by Sberbank, and there is going to be a client who has their own experience, their experience of making requirements and commissioning the building. So the requirements to architecture, style, the interior, so that you can discuss that with the designer. But anyway, there should be some concept from the investor. The colors. If this is an eco hotel, so you should indicate that we use only eco-friendly materials. In Russia, there is some misunderstanding regarding certification of materials. And quite often we develop very exciting interiors, and those look nice on the picture, but in fact, those look boring because of absence of harmony. So we should strike some balance between the requirement, the technical requirements, and aesthetics. Well, as for eco-friendliness, we have discussed these issues. What are the general requirements? AI and smart technologies are becoming a demand. HVAC system, well, there are dozens of designs, so you should explain what you want. Sanitation and sewage, well, seems boring, doesn't it? But if you've got a limited budget, you should indicate clearly what kind of sewage systems you would like to have, the concealed internal systems or the exposed ones. I remember the project when the client demanded that they would like to have light as reflection, so as to ensure eco-friendliness of the lighting. Therefore, we had to conceal all kinds of lighting equipment so that the person enters some room and cannot make it. Where does the light come from? It was a really hard job for us. So we should make it. We should also implement AI technologies, and this is important for engineers to consider.
And now let's talk about the recent projects of the last 2 years. Now we are building them. So the dacha of Emir Bukharsky, the 2 cultural sites that are left, the heritage of him in Zheleznovodsk and in Yalta. This one is located in Zheleznovodsk, and we fully designed all the projects for the restoration, and the investor designed a very interesting concept, boutique hotel, the Halal boutique hotel for 15 rooms. It will be the first of its kind in the region. And we managed to preserve the facade and to restore it accordingly. These are old photos. We preserved the windows there. And of course, there is a certain battle between the budget, the payback period, and the desire to preserve cultural heritage. And this is one of the fragments of the facades that we designed. Here are some images and drawings. As for the interiors, this is the lobby next to the reception for the guests wait there. And what about the guarding obligations? Yes, on this photo you can see the fireplace, all the shapes of the windows, and more than 600 pages of the obligations that we have to preserve and to fulfill, and we had to use the respective state-of-the-art materials in order to do that. And part of the interior objects were restored. Some of them were found at markets in Uzbekistan, in Turkey, and it is an ongoing project, and the customer is doing this project on his own, and we don't fully know the concept but we are trying to do our best to help him in this work. This is an example of a standard room, and here we preserved all the windows, all the parts of it, and the color palette of the rooms is not accidental here, and we had to remove a few layers in order to know the original colors of Emir, because then we used to have Clara Zetkin Sanatorium and some other cultural layers, and there were different purposes that this building was used for during those periods of time. And here we see a very characteristic color palette, the premium room for 2 people, and these are some of the solutions, original solutions for a room of less than 20 square meters, and the ceiling is about 5 square meters, and that is why we made this decision for a person to feel quite comfortable there. And also we see some mango tree characteristics and features that will be used there. The camel bone also will be one of the details. A small hammam with a changing room and some room for the procedure, and that is an example of the historic buildings, and we've attracted investors that will change those historic buildings into boutique state-of-the-art hotels. Now I will show you another project of ours, a post-Soviet building, a building in the style of the 1990s. It's its own cultural heritage, and the task was to adjust it to the modern needs, and it is planned to open a sanatorium for 216 rooms, and the plastic surgery clinic and anti-aging clinic will be open there. After pandemic, it is a very relevant topic. People are thinking more and more about their health and paying attention to it. So it is on the top of the cascade staircase with an entrance, direct entrance into Kislovodsk Park. Those of you who have visited it understand the unique features of this location. So this is one of the projects that we are implementing right now. Now we are planning to elaborate some new zones, some restaurant zones, and for some of the people who are on diets, and they have to have their own space. An interesting solution that we add to it is the children area, for them not to bother other guests who have come there without their family, without children, and healthy lifestyle facilities will be also included there. And this is quite a huge project. The task was to make this project quite a sterile one, because this is a sanatorium, and the purpose was to elaborate a very light interior, and we tried to build utilities in such a way with designers and architects to hide it there. The zone of reception, as you can clearly see that on the photos from Amashuk stone, and this is what we recommend to investors, to use some local materials. It is not only economically efficient and viable, but it is beautiful as well. Another picture, visualization of the lobby, how it will look like, a modern interior where we combine the classic style and the modern style. So we tried to strike the balance between those two styles and things, and also a sacred place, the Narzan by that. Also, there will be a direct entrance there and the buvette area of Bashuk stone, the canteen for children. The task here was to preserve an eco-friendliness for children, and that is what we were able to achieve. The examples of standard rooms, they are quite small, compact. The task was to have the maximum amount of rooms in the building, and it is thought right up to the smallest detail. And together with the customer, we worked on the terms of reference with a specific amount allocated for the budget. We calculated the payback for the hotel, and elaborating this design, we had to do that. Please speed up in order to stick to the time limit. And the latest project, well, it's interesting that there are three approaches that can be clearly seen here. The restoration of the heritage that you originally have. The second approach is the average approach, understandable for all the audience. And the third approach, I know this project site-specific, that is ideally in line, like a continuation of the resort itself. Yes, the cultural, the genetic code that we mentioned before, the Stavropolsky region, and here we deal with Altai region, the Manjarok Villa, the project of Sberbank, from the cedar, the local material that we use there. And as we've mentioned, that to build just a hotel, if it's not a business hotel, it doesn't make any sense, because almost all people think about their health, and hiking is also developing. And our idea was to build three sauna complexes, and in white, in black, and in gray. And we also engaged the specific specialist that elaborated this project, and it is all year round complex, and the guests can relax in such saunas or banyas in Russian. In the lobbies you can see the birch trees, the design from Gust Krustalny that helped us with this design. And this is the hammam part of the plan, and this is banya in black, and this is what banya in black means. And the last one is in gray, the ceramic art object featuring the river Katun, and also the Russian furnace in this banya in gray. In conclusion, I'd like to thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I will be glad to answer them. Yes, right away we have a question. Can you pass the mic there? Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Olga, Rustam Dominov. I'm a technical director for Mordovskaya Mortgage Corporation, and we are building their housing in Mordovia. So it's an exchange of experience. That is our purpose of being present here at the forum. And we are a functioning customer one of those you mentioned, and we are arguing sometimes with designers about the essence of the terms of reference, because when you are elaborating a product, you are taking into consideration some marketing strategies. And have you encountered such a situation when you offer the customer to fill in a brief and quite illustrative what we saw the slides about Barnier in black, some functional areas, and if we can call it then technology, the technical technology, but it is very directly related. There is an intersection with marketing strategies. So how do you envision the interaction with the customer on the stage, and which is the best stage to start such a work in your vision? Yes, as I've mentioned before, this is what we should start from, the first stage, the initial stage, because in these projects, right from the very start, with the functional customer, we have their questionnaire that has to be filled in, but we've accumulated also experience working with some similar customers, similar orders, and for each customer, like for example Yamal-Nenetsky region, we elaborated the specific questionnaire because it helps us to save our resources and your resources as well. Maybe we will spend more time on this initial stage responding about the fabrics, about the budget, whether you need certificate or you don't need that. But this is like a narrow corridor that we set for an architect, for the designer, but then the product will match your expectation. There will be nothing unexpected in terms of the result, and it will be satisfactory both for the client and for their services. So, and Invest gets the product that they need, and you have to sign the terms of reference as appendix to your contract. And my colleagues told me a story about their lawsuit, and then the judge asked them about the initial terms of reference, whether they complied with it. And over the last 20 years, we have not had case like this, but still I supply, I support this idea. So the terms of reference is a necessary part of the work. If you allow me, I'd like to say the following. So it's good that you are asking this question on the part of all the development. For us as co-authors of the project, it is very much mentioned, very often mentioned, that the names of architects is not put on the project, but the author can be different, and some masterpieces, like we saw in Olga's presentation, it is a result of the teamwork. But we, as a project engineering project, we can confirm that designers, they are working already with the ready-made terms of reference, and it is based on the regulations and the ruling number 87, and the limit of the dreams is to get the permit for construction as soon as they get it, and then we can relax and go to designers, because the main parameters have been set, the main decisions have been made, everything related to infrastructure, the yachting, some specific infrastructure that I've mentioned before. Then other parameters are required, and they are included for marina requirements, and it has to be taken into consideration. So shaping the concept, elaborating the concept in the right way is the key point that serves as a foundation for the overall project and its development, and all the specialists have to take part in it. And the TH technology, according to ruling number 87, it is done like this, but the final result is quite different, and it is like this. Thank you very much. So the logics of the process is the following. So the interaction and the joint efforts taken by the commercial part, commercial department, and the customer, you move towards their major detailization, major parts and details that will be set. A question to Sergey to continue our discussion, and let's start with your topic. So we've seen that almost all the clusters are occupied, but what is being done to promote the projects in terms of Russian investors? Are you looking for foreign investors, or are you looking more for local investors? This is the first part of the question. Of course, we have been working on this part. It is an ongoing process. As I've mentioned before, out of 9 lots, as I've mentioned, we have investors for 7 of them. So the last 2 of them are pending. We are looking for investors. Together with the cooperation of Russian Federation Tourism, we've organized some pitchings for investors. Some thematic forums have been organized, and this is what gave us this desirable result, and we are at the final stage for contract signing for most of the lots, and this project has a good potential, 75 hectares, as I mentioned before. How do you plan to multiply the effect? Because this is a very important point of attraction, not only for tourists, but also for people who can have their second house there. For each lot, we can work on the development, and adjacent territory is about 70 hectares. This is the second stage of the project. We have reserved that for the specific category, and there the growth potential is twice as much, at least.
There are other available landlords, and we can dwell on those to develop our project further. So, I mean, that is not the end. And in fact, the Republic has a small amount of such great land plots where water is in the vicinity and where all the necessary infrastructure is in close proximity. Olga and Sergey, there are more questions to you, but these questions are more of a global nature. You know that this is a great achievement of tourists, but what's your take on the perspectives to develop the neighboring industries? Marine industry is great, but it requires construction efforts. It requires infrastructure. And we should also take care about the garages where yachts would be repaired and produced. So hereby, we should also engage other services, and this is like real economy. Yes, absolutely. Therefore, we have included the full package of services. And if we see that there was a demand for more complicated repair works, well, in this respect, we have contacts with a large shipbuilding plant that can offer more extensive repairs for the engine, etc., all other units. So you mentioned that in Turkey they constructed 100 Marines, right? At a time. Yes, right. And that's a very costly story. But it is the very nucleus of such large projects. Yes, right. And the tourism, there is an influx of tourists into tourism, and therefore the investors aspire to get the revenue in just a few decades. The freezing lakes and the cold Black Sea require huge investments. Therefore, we believe that it is going to be public funding that would provide for such projects, and second would come services and retailers. Right, I would like to add that Marina is an infrastructural facility. Last year I was the expert of the Magadan area. I was working with the governor Nosov, and I was really excited that it was possible to build a marina in Magadan. And the question was, well, we know that the infrastructure is influenced by seasons as well as temperature. This is an infrastructural object that is going to be running for 200 or 300 years ahead. Therefore, we should not consider the revenue term as 5, 7, 10 years. It should be considered like an airport or a railway. So the investment to revenue here, the return on investment, is indeed longer. Here I would like to discuss it in greater detail, because yes, indeed, what's utmostly important is an integral approach to all the objects and sites of national importance. I believe it's almost impossible, close to impossible, to ensure return on investment in a few years on such facilities. And meanwhile, no one would need a project that does not generate a return. Therefore, I believe that a marina is like a parking lot near the hotel. You would not split that in between hotels, right? This is just one and the same project. And the same is true for the marketing that is going to earn its share. I believe that no single person in Russia would be into development without knowing any project at all. So the business model and the investment model should be region dependent. It should totally depend on the tasks of the region. I believe that we are going to do our first steps only, but we are aspiring to make it our way and follow the evolution. And for example, we have coped with the Olympic Games, and no one was believing that it would be possible to build such great sport infrastructure in 7 years. And I never go skiing in Sochi because I hate queues. So here, shipbuilding And private shipbuilding companies are our focus as well. We are quite often addressed to consider locations for future shipbuilding. So what's the key enabler? Is it the internal tourism or is it the external tourism? The outcoming or the incoming? Well, when we cooperated with our international experts, we had a hypothesis. We participated in the forum in 2021, and in January 2021, I represented our project at the Expo Forum. In those times, we did not have any problems, and we had negotiations with Marine, the Saudi Arabia, and we believed that there was going to be a difference in the weather and in seasons. And yes, there was quite of an excitement about that. The managers and administrators were also excited, but all the mariners dwell on 90% of internal consumers. There can be external consumers as well, international consumers, but those must be insured by some word of mouth. We have Norway, we have internal water tourism. So you remember the story when a neighbor changed the wooden window frames for plastic ones, and everyone believes, wow, he has got money, he is a rich man. But that's not how it works. A yacht today would cost as much as a car. It can be a repaired yacht, it can be a Russian manufactured yacht. So its price is like that of a car. It is the absence of infrastructure that is the key impediment. Today, we did our calculations and designs for 100,000 parking lots for yachts. If we create these 10,000 parking lots for yachts, together with the development efforts, well, we know what's the margin of development. Well, speaking about numbers and statistics, roughly 50 billion is the investment capacity for large marina, with the cost of all the equipment being 1 billion, roughly. So all that is dissolved in the overall amount of equipment. And then the construction strategy, that's like 30%. So it's all very much like buying land. However, these extra facilities are critical. And you can equally drink cappuccino or champagne or freshly squeezed juice on board of a yacht, not only a car. Well, yes, indeed. Domestic tourism is not a forced measure. This indicates that the market is ripe and that the consumers would like to see what's going on in this country, in our country, and not what's going on somewhere abroad. I believe that this is because of COVID that we have developed this mentality. And 20, 30 years to come, domestic travels have now become exciting as well. Thank you very much, Sergey and Olga. Thank you for your time, Olga. And so let's get together in 90 minutes. We are going to consider identity and architecture.